And we're back with part two of the preseason pod. And Sharan, this is probably your least favorite part of every episode, but we're looking forward to our season predictions. So, what do you like thinking about how the season's gonna go? And I wanna look at this as like we actually consider individual competitions as well, not just like overall. So, how do you see us doing in the Premier League, the Champions League, and both the cups? And then some individual predictions as well in terms of players. But let's start with like the competitions.
I mean, let me tell you where I'm at headspace wise, right? Because, you know, there's all this talk about like second season syndrome and stuff, right? And I feel like we're primed for that because we have still such an inexperienced squad, right? On the flip side, because I'm trying to be a little bit more positive in my life, right, with you around. I think, look, you can't go and win the Club World Cup being the tournament that it is now, right? Play that many games and not, have raised your base level of performances, right? So we have to give some attribution, some positive attribution there. But overall, I'm still quite anxious because I think whereas last season, um, the jury was out on whether we would have held on to Maresca had he not qualified for any European competition or had he lost the Conference League, right? It was debatable whether he would have been sacked. But this season, if he doesn't qualify for the Champions League, I think there will be very, very serious questions. So I think for me, the expectation levels have increased, right? Which is fair enough, right? But Maresca is also a victim a bit of his own success in this regard. So yeah, it's a bit, I'm a bit anxious here to see how these guys handle the additional pressure now. And of course, we've stepped up two competition levels, not one, from going from the Conference League straight into the Champions League, right? In which scenario, like this squad now needs to really step up their game and they have to adapt to a proper game, like a match every what 3 4 nights, right? So the demands have really shot up, and yeah, I'm not sure how we will handle it. That being said, I can safely say, Prashant, I will predict in the Premier League we will avoid relegation. I think I'm happy to go with that. Yeah. No, I think we'll hit. I'll put top five. I think England will get the fifth spot as Champions League spot, so I'll just put top five there um, as a definite. Um, and then maybe for Premier League, you can give me your thoughts before we move on to the Champions League.
Yeah, I'm more bullish. I think considering we're able to string together a top four finish, we're only gonna set our sights higher. So Premier League, I think a top three finish for me. Overall, I agree with you that it is gonna be more challenging, but I feel like we've built a squad that's capable of competing. And we also showed that in the Champions League, especially, it tends to be over two legs. And a lot of times, like we did it in the Club World Cup final, right? When it comes down to those like games where it's make or break in a matter of one or two games, and it's not like a season long 38 games situation, the squad shows up. So I think, yeah, we will be able to do it. So top three in the Premier League for me.
Okay, so yeah, I guess there's no real point in us saying the position, because by saying top five or top three, we both think we can win it, but chances are we won't. Um, in terms of the Champions League, where do you have us finishing up?
Again, similar to the Club World Cup, I think quarterfinals based on tougher opposition, the squad's relative inexperience at that level. I think we get out of the group stages, we definitely make it past the round of 16, and then quarterfinals is where things tend to get a little bit tougher. And I think if we make it there,
But
it's
where do you think we finish in the group stage? Do you think we'll be in the top tier or the middle tier that needs to do an extra qualification round?
oh yeah, that dual format. I think we should get through in the top tier, but it that comes down to the groups, I think. And I mean, in terms of who we're drawn against, right? So I think that's a conversation for when the draw is fully done. But in my mind, we
Okay,
should get
so
through in the top.
very, very non-committal from you, but you have us
Yeah.
getting to the quarterfinals regardless, right? The quarterfinals
Yes.
proper. Um, yeah, I think we get to the round of 16 proper. And then I think we trip up somewhere along the lines. Whenever the competition phases over to like March or April, I think that's when, it starts to get trickier for us, and I think we'll trip up. Um, and we are obviously this in spite of last year's performances, luckily we are in the cups every year. We thank God for that because the bloated squad needs something to do, So yeah, how do you see I mean, what is the importance of the FA Cup and Carabao Cup, and where do you see us finishing in those?
I think more than anything, it's just the fact that you can say you won something. I think that's the importance of those two cups. I mean, without getting into like the prestige and the entire footballing system involved. So I mean, I think we should aim for at least one of them. I don't like have a preference for which, but given the fact that again, similar argument to last year where when you're looking at a squad this size, you want to utilize them to the max, and for that you need a set number of games. So I think one of the cups we should be aiming for.
Okay. I mean, I think they'll be aiming to win everything, of course, but I don't really have us winning any cup tournaments this year. Just on the basis that, whilst we have done good business and we've definitely trimmed down the squad, I think the floor of this squad, like I mentioned earlier, is still a bit on the low side. And, the season being, like you say, around 60 games plus, you really need a high level squad. I look at other teams like Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. Those guys should really be winning all of these competitions. And then of course, when you're talking about the Champions League, you're opening it up to the Real Madrids of this world. So, yeah, I think I said round of 16 for Champions League. I'm going to say quarterfinals for the FA Cup, and I'll say we'll get to a semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and then probably lose on penalties there. So yeah, I mean that kind of covers our season predictions. But in terms of maybe some individual performances, or like any kind of, yeah, players you want to highlight for the season ahead, anyone to watch out for?
So I'm gonna break it into like four categories. Um, and one would be who I think would be the player of the season. And I think with this the level of the squad raised around him, I feel like we're gonna see Palmer shine again. So I think Paul Palmer is gonna be our player of the season. Um, do you have a view on that?
I mean, that's just a very easy choice, isn't it?
I don't think
I
so.
I okay. I mean, I guess you could go with Caicedo because they're never going to give it to Cucurella, right? Like no matter how much he does, I actually think I'm going to say Reece James here. I think he has a comeback season now, the kind of season we wanted him to have last season, right? Um, I'm touch wood, his fitness only continues to improve, and he plays more than, let's say, 40, 45 games. And yeah, man, like watching him in these couple of preseason games and in the Club World Cup, he's getting back to like Thomas Tuchel, Reece James levels.
Okay, so then who do you think, when we look back at this summer transfer window, who do you think will have been the best signing we've made at this juncture?
I'm gonna jump in here and say Rodrigo. No, in all seriousness, I think it's going to be one of the strikers. I'll stick my neck out here and say João Pedro. But really, I think one of them is going to show up real big. And we're not going to feel the kind of void that we felt when Jackson got injured, particularly last season, but also when he was off form. So, yeah, I mean, lots of signings to choose from, actually, because again, most of these are forward-looking players. I know I do like my defenders and all, but yeah, ultimately, goals win games, right? So who have you got as your potential signing of the season come May, June? next year?
Esteval, Esteval, where we are currently. I mean, I know he was signed in the previous season, but he's as good as a new signing because he's come in, right? And I think he's gonna just be the one that elevates everything and helps Palmer unlock that level. So I say Palmer is the player of the season, but Esteval is like the best signing and has a huge impact.
Okay, just like a side question. You got any numbers you want to drop down for Esteval? Like, do you see him having 20 plus goals and assists this season?
I want to say 15 plus, which would be healthy for his age and like the
But you're talking
the
just the league in that case, right?
no, I think overall, man, because I expect a lot of rotation as well. So 15 plus seems maybe it's a low bar actually, but I'll still stick to it. 15 plus, considering he's coming from the Brazilian league and we've had better people come from Europe and not, they've not been able to hit those numbers.
Yeah, fair enough. I think from João Pedro's side, I'm not really concerned with goal involvement, it's just goals. But I think if we have a striker who can actually reach 20 goals this season, all competitions, bro, that will be huge for us. It feels like we haven't had that in a while in a striker, like somebody who feels like they could consistently perform. So I know, again, I've chosen João Pedro, but for me, whether it's João Pedro or Delap, one of them I have a feeling is going to get a run of form where they're going to be banging them in.
Fair, fair. And who do you think has a make or break season this time around?
Garnacho, we're gonna buy him. He's gonna be shit. We're gonna sell him next season. That's it. I have nothing else to say.
Okay, that's a very interesting one. So Garnacho for you. And for me, like in all honesty, I think it has to be for the likes of Fofana and Lavia. If they don't come through this season, it's bye-bye.
I had a feeling you would say that, but I think I disagree, man. I think these guys have put Fofana and Lavia particularly in the world-class bracket. Like these guys, if they are fit and they're on top form, they walk into any team in the world. I think if I was taking this question a little bit more seriously, I would probably say Badiashile because he, for me, is not going to, you know, he's never going to be a first choice left center back. It's always going to be Colwill when fit, right? Which means that, look, okay, he's actually blocking up a lot of value right now. So if he has a great season, then fine, you keep him on and see if he can challenge Colwill next season. If he doesn't have a good season this year, then it's time to liquidate and reinvest the money back into the project, right? So back into a new one or two new under 21-year-olds.
Yeah, but it's for the world class reason exactly, which is why I think Fofana and Lavia have a make or break. Maybe more Fofana than even Lavia. Um, you just can't you can be world class on your day, but if you're not available to be world class, then you may as well not be there. So that's why I think it's a make or break. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the nature of this question is only time will tell.
Yeah.
But any other wacky uh off the cuff takes you wanted to share?
I want to say absolute wildcard take, Garnacho comes in and wins us over.
Okay, all right. So you've gone the opposite of what I've done in the previous question. So fine. It's nice to have somebody on the opposite side. It's good. So Garnacho at least has one supporter this season from the Chelsea fans. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I I
Yeah.
I think I think a kind of a wild card thing will be Andre Santos starting more games than Enzo Fernandez. I think okay, of course anything can happen with injury and all of that, but I truly think Andre Santos can do what Fernandez does, and I feel him being more aggressive in the tackle, more mobile around the pitch. So I want to say he's a more complete complementary midfielder next to Caicedo. And I think by the end of this season, maybe in the league, we'll have seen Santos start more games than Fernandez. That's just me like making a kind of like throwing a wild card out there.
This is considering Fernandez is fit, right? Not in the case of him being injured.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. If
Okay, fine.
Fernandez is not fit, it's not my fault. But Santos easily could get an injury as well, right? It works both ways.
Yeah, fair. Okay, cool. That was fun. Then looking at our opening set of fixtures, right? Our opening five fixtures, we've got Palace at home, West Ham away, Fulham at home, Brentford away, and then United away. So it's a set of local derbies to kick off the season. Obviously starting on Sunday, the 17th of August. How'd you feel, man? What do you think's gonna happen?
I fully rate Oliver Glasner's Palace. I think we'll draw. Honestly, I actually think they might nick this game. They're very good at setting up to play against kind of bigger teams. But I'll say draw because I don't want to be too pessimistic, and I do hope that if we concede early, we at least can pull something out of the game. In terms of West Ham, I would expect a win, and I think we will win. Just because I'm still not sure what Graham Potter is trying to achieve there. But of course, everything can change in like 2 weeks. So yeah, I'll still go with a win against West Ham. And then I think a win against our neighbours, Fulham. We learned a lot of lessons against Fulham last season because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they beat us 2-1 at Stamford Bridge in that kind of that run of form where we were really, really bad. And
Yeah.
then really marked our turnaround in form was the reverse fixture when, firstly, Tyreek George's goal, man, like so underrated in that season. And then Pedro Neto's finish definitely got the flowers it deserved as well. So yeah, Fulham games are very, very important. Sometimes maybe as fans who live outside London, we really don't appreciate how important these derbies are. So putting us down for a win for that. Brentford, dude, this is like Brentford without Thomas Frank, but it's still Brentford. So I'm gonna say we lose, and then I'll say we lose to Man United as well. For the record, right? Like United get a lot of coverage online, and mate, they seem to be getting a lot of hype. People seem to be backing them to do big things this season. So if that's the case, if the expectations are quite high for United, they have to be turning in a performance against us at Old Trafford.
Yeah, that's fair. I think as always, you have the slightly more measured view on games, but I'm gonna skew more positive, and I'm gonna give you my reasons why. So I think we beat Palace, and that's because there's a lot of uncertainty around the squad. The likes of Gehi and Eze are both like being linked with moves away, and those are two players who are pretty core to their performance. Gehi, of course, being linked to Liverpool, and Eze might be fielding interest from Spurs and Arsenal, if I'm not wrong. So I think that puts a little bit of a doubt over, whether they start and affects the quality of their starting 11. Um, West Ham as well, I think should be a win for similar reasons. Potter doesn't seem to have it fully figured out, and West Ham are just, you never know what you're gonna get. So I'm gonna go with, they turn up and we're able to beat them. Fulham, I think the lessons from that 2-1 loss at home, we're not gonna want to repeat that. And again, they don't seem to have done too much in the window as well. They may get Sterling, but how much of an improvement that is debatable. So I think we should be able to beat them handily. Brentford for me is a win. It's not even a doubt because yes, there's no Thomas Frank, but there's also no Mbomo. They lost Norgard. Wisa is unsettled as well. So it's a very, very different look to the squad, and it's gonna be a huge gulf for them. So I think we beat them handily, and I think United giving them the benefit of a month of building chemistry before we meet them, I think it's gonna be a draw. You're right. There's a lot of hype about them. The fact that they have landed Shesko, they have Cunha, they have Mbomo, they have Fernandez as well there. So there is a lot of potential in that squad. Just remains to be seen. Remains to be seen how they actually convert that. So I'm going draw, just giving them the benefit. And yeah, I think that's a typically contrasting predictions from both of us. But let's
I
see how
mean,
it
dude, the
goes.
contrast is huge, man. Like, dude, you got us on 13 points after the
Yeah,
first 5 games. I've got us on 7, so you're nearly double.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess, yeah, like t time will tell on this. And yeah, thank you for referring to my predictions as measured,
Yeah.
instead of, negative. It's very polite, very PC of you. But don't worry, I will never stop doing this pod because I have nowhere else to go. So
Yeah, no,
you
I'm
can
I'm
be as
aware.
rude as you like, man. I don't know. I feel like Brentford's always been a bit of a bogey team. And yeah, even last season when we needed those points against United, we won 1-0. We should have won by more, and yet we made the game look extremely difficult. So I don't know. Both teams, United and Brentford, are always quite tricky for us.
I think the speculation around Wisa will also have settled with Brentford by that point. So remains to be seen how they do in the rest of the window. But where they are currently, they seem to be there for the taking. So time will tell.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess all of that being said, I'm sure there's a lot to listen to in this pod. So yeah, Prashant's gonna plug the socials here.
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. So let us know what you think. Is the wild card Garnacho shout too wild? Do you actually think we'll be closer to 7 points, as Sharon predicted, or closer to 13 points like I did? Let us know over on X at WeBurnBluePod. And if you like what you've heard, leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts and share this with another Chelsea fan ahead of our game versus Palace. A reminder, we're also on FPL this season, so you can join the league with the code XCYKSN. That's it from me.
And that's it. It's great to be back for season 2 of We Burn Blue. Wishing Chelsea, both men and women's teams, all the best for the coming season and up the Blues.